Hello everybody, it's Skyler again. Today we're going to continue the series I have going on right now where we critique the official mapping from Beat Saber. As you may have noticed, a couple things have changed since the last video. So, the audio. I have switched from my regular microphone to the one built into the Rift. It is less quality, but it does come with some benefits. For example, you can now hear in both ears. So the issue I was having with my standard microphone is that the way the audio interface interacts with shadow play was causing it to only play into the left ear, and there's basically no solution for that at the time. So now you can hear in both ears. My standard microphone, even though it is high quality, I had to crank up the gain really high for you to be able to hear my voice, and it made my voice sound really strange, not normal. I feel like the Rift right now is capturing what my voice sounds like a little bit better. I also did want to clear up a couple of things. I like to play at the standard player height. I know some of the higher players like to crouch and set their player height way down low so they get a competitive advantage, but I really prefer to have the game feel fun, and I feel like the regular player height, the one you're intended to play at, is a lot more fun. I also play with reduced note debris because that helps me see the notes better, especially at Expert Plus level. Also, I use Smooth Camera instead of Camera Plus. I get a lot better performance with Smooth Camera than I do with Camera Plus. The biggest reason people can notice that I play with Smooth Camera over Camera Plus is that I use 0.7 smoothness instead of 1.0. Using 0.7, I think you can better see some of my movements when we're playing through the Expert Plus maps, and I think that's really valuable to see when I'm critiquing them. Alright, so let us get started with the bread and butter of this. So there are 3 songs added with the Camellia update: Crystallized, Cycle Hit, and What the Cat. We're going to be starting out with Crystallized. So I want to start out by saying this seems to be people's most favorite map from the song pack, and it's not necessarily the mapping, because as you'll see later, the mapping between Crystallized and Cycle Hit is actually very similar, at least on Expert Plus. The reason people seem to prefer Crystallized over Cycle Hit is probably between 2 reasons. It's either the song itself, and or it's the spawning distance of the notes, and that's a big issue with this update at the moment. Even though the mapping is pretty damn good, the spawn distance seems to be keeping people from enjoying Cycle Hit and Want the Cat, even though the mapping in both of those is both pretty solid. So I just want to explain spawn distance really quickly. Basically, spawn distance is how far away the notes will spawn in. So in Beat Saber, not all of the notes show up at once. They will spawn in. They will not exist, and then once they get to a certain threshold, they'll start to pop up. You'll start to see them. Usually, spawning distance can go anywhere between 18 to 36 meters in front of the player. Beat games themselves don't like the notes to spawn in any closer than 24 meters, so they try to keep it between 24 and 36. But the issue with rules that they're not strict enough, at least for the mapping in these. So the issue with having notes spawn closer than 24 is your reaction time is going to be really rushed. The song is going to feel a lot faster than it needs to be and will lead to frustration among players. And if you push the notes too far back, it's hard to keep up with the rhythm, and that's the issue. The spawn distance in Cycle Hit and What the Cat is pushed so far back that not only is it hard to keep up with rhythm, but it's also affecting your ability to read the map, because you'll see more notes on screen than if the spawn distance was different. And it's a little hard to explain in game. If you want to find some more information on spawn distance, I have a guide on that in my ultimate mapping guide. I'll link that down in the description. Crystallized, out of the 3 maps, has probably the best spawn distance, at least right now. I'm hoping that they're going to solve the issue with the spawn distance with Cycle Hit and What the Cat, and there's actually a pretty simple way for them to fix that. So let's just go get started out with Crystallized. Actually, you know what? I have a better idea. I just had an idea. Crystallized, crystals, right? I got a treat for you guys. Working on a little something for a project coming out on August 15th. And I think this platform would actually be pretty fitting. Alright, so far so good. So the spawn distance in this is pretty good, but I think it can be optimized just a little bit better by pushing the notes just a little bit further back. Because right now they're about 24 meters. Alright, keep note of that blue crossover I just did. Okay, so now see that red crossover? That blue crossover was pretty easy for me to hit, but the red one was a lot more difficult. Because I wasn't given as much time with the red as I was on the blue one. Alright, now same thing from the Imagine Dragons song pack. The mapping in this uses all of the directions all the time. So the down, left, right, diagonals, all of those. They're really not forgetting that any of these note directions exist, like a lot of mapping these days. I lost tracking for a second. I really love that right there. And that too, those technical jump streams. And honestly, mapping can get more technical than this if they wanted to. That was a little bit of a reset on the red, but it doesn't really matter. And then those inline streams, but they weren't abusing it too much, so it doesn't matter as well. I feel like a lot of the mapping in this, they show a lot of restraint. By the way, those ups, so up notes that spawn in Beat Saber, if you have a close spawn distance like this map, it's really jarring because the animation of the notes flipping up. So that's another reason why I would recommend they bump the spawn distance just a tiny bit. Up, tracking. Alright, tracking was gone on my blue Saber. As you could tell, those streams are really enjoyable. They're called technical jump streams. I really enjoy them because they spice up a lot of the mapping that we see these days. By the way, let me know in the comments what you think about this platform so far. I really like how that blue diagonal was angled up just then. Alright, these are right-hand dominant streams for all of this section. Alright, and now they're left-hand dominant. I really like those synth fills, how it was mapped. And also how mapping triples properly again. Not exactly sure why that blue was a dot on the right side. I really don't think it needed to be a dot. Speaking of dots, you don't really see a lot of those in this mapping from any of the Camellia songs. People recently have found really clever ways to use the dots, and I'd like to see that more in the official mapping. A really good map. As many of you may know, Yazer did the majority of the work for this. Sorry if I'm breathing a little heavy. I didn't really get my my heart rate up before I got into this. Again, no bombs. Kind of a shame, really. I feel like they should use all of the resources at their disposal. Also, I feel like this map could have used like kind of like a wall show in a way. Like some of the maps from the Imagine Dragon Song Pack utilize walls a lot. They just utilize them a decent bit, but I think it could have been bumped up a little bit more to make things feel intense. For example, on the Monster Cat Song Pack, the Overkill song really utilizes walls to make things feel a lot more intense than they really are. To its benefit, maybe it was a stylistic choice to have the amount of walls not really get in the player's way, because this is a really soothing synth song, and maybe it was a conscious effort to make things feel kind of like fresh and free by not restricting you with the walls. Anyway, before we move on to Cycle Hit, let's turn off this platform. You'll see more from that platform in just a week or two. Actually, for Cycle Hit, let's use a custom Saber just to spice it up. Another thing we're working on. Yeah, let's go with those. Alright, next up is Cycle Hit. So, in my opinion, this is a super obnoxious song. I do not really enjoy it in Beat Saber. It's a lot more tolerable. It really pumps the intensity into you with the note density in this. However, it is lacking in a big way with the spawn distance. It's a lot harder to play because of the way it's set up. A lot of the times, a far out spawn distance can be a stylistic thing, like the walls in Crystallized not really being like utilized a ton, like with Overkill. But with Cycle Hit, it really affects your ability to play the song properly, like it was meant to be played and enjoyed. And your enjoyment for this song will go down severely solely based on the spawn distance of it. I'm going to show you what it looks like, and then I'm going to show you what the quote-unquote correct settings should be for the spawn distance, which includes two things: note jump speed, which a lot of people blame for these songs being slow, which in fact they're not slow at all. Far from that, actually. Crystallized is 18 note jump speed, Cycle Hit I believe is 17, and then What the Cat is 19, question mark? So, a lot of people aren't complaining about Crystallized being too slow, but it's 18 note jump speed. That's just 17, it's barely off, and then What the Cat's even faster at 19. The issue really is the spawn distance, and it comes from how they're using the spawn offset. So let me show you what it looks like right now in its current state. As you can see, it's super far away, especially compared to Crystallized. I'm swinging early a little bit too, because of the spawning distance. I'm gonna go up until I fail, because I know I will fail with the spawn distance. And then I'll show you the correct settings, at least how I deem it. I'm just gonna fail out on my own accord. So as you can see, the mapping was pretty similar to Crystallized, but it's a lot less enjoyable. Two parts: I don't enjoy the song as much as Crystallized, and second, the spawn distance. Now, using the practice plugin, which you can download using Mod Assistant, when you go in practice mode, hit play, and then pause. Right here, these are the settings for the song. So, just a quick rundown: note jump speed, NJS, the speed at which the notes approach you. On the lowest difficulties, it's 10, it ramps up. On the OST, it's going up to 19 with What the Cat. They haven't done 20 yet. I think 20 should be the hard limit for what they do in the official mapping, at least. But the spawn offset is the issue. Now, spawn offset, basically, that one means notes will spawn exactly a beat further in the distance, which can clutter the screen, but sometimes you need it. With the way it's set up right now, the notes are spawning super far back. So if we hit 0, it's actually going to be an issue still. So we'll do 17 and 0 now and watch what happens. It's going to be super close. It's actually closer than Crystallized, and I was already just very slightly complaining about that. honestly, it wasn't that bad with 17 and 0. The biggest issue with having 17 and 0 for this map is a little further up. There's a couple of soft resets in the mapping, and I think 17-0 wouldn't be optimal for that. Personally, since the BPM I think is 174, 175, should probably do 19 for the note jump speed, and then the spawn offset at 0.2. Actually 0.25, but with this tool, with this practice plugin, you can't set to the second decimal place. You can only do the first decimal place. So they've never actually done decimal offsets, at least for the time being. With the Imagine Dragons song pack, I believe they added support officially for decimal spawn offset values. It could only be 0, 1, it could only be integers basically. And now we have support for decimals, and the way it works basically is instead of a whole beat, it's 0.2 in this case. So if you were to do 0.5 though, I found some issues with values like 0.5. It can actually make the rhythm a bit worse. I feel like the brain kind of attaches itself to when they spawn in, and your head is like subconsciously thinking about the beat as it comes in, and there's like some correlation between where you see it spawn in and what your mind interprets the beat as. And with values like 0.25 and 0.75, it's close enough to 0 and 1 respectively that it doesn't really mess with you too much. So 0.5, maybe stay away from that, and let's 0.2/0.25. This song is a lot more enjoyable like that, in my opinion. Now it's a really comfortable value right now. And as you can see, I'm missing a lot less too. Except for that, just ignore that. Just a little bit of lag. I really love that stream right there. Now, as I recall, this map starts out with pretty good mapping, but it doesn't really pick up until later. And as you could see just a couple seconds ago, there was a soft reset on the red Saber. That is one advantage of what the spawn distance is at the moment without my little fix. But this value of spawn distance makes it so much more enjoyable to play. And another soft reset. Soft reset. Alright, now this is where the mapping really picks up in my opinion. Even though that was pretty good, it gets even better from here on out. I think those were just mirrored, so maybe I jumped the gun a little bit. But I promise you it's coming. Yeah, right here. This is really funky and fun. Yeah, right there. Yeah, this just feels really fresh. Yeah, it's great. And it just keeps going from here. Yeah, that was just great how your sabers were weaving in and out of each other there. Yeah! That was a little awkward with that red saber going inward, but it's not a huge deal. I think this is the final chorus coming up. The rhythm on this is impeccable. It was a little awkward there, but it wasn't bad. And then another mirrored or copied patterns. But it is a motif at this point, so why not copy it? And those values I put in for the note jump speed and spawn offset, I think that's how this was meant to be played. Honestly, it feels so much better with those. Honestly, super good map, just like Crystallized was, just different in regards to how it sounds. A lot of the mapping styles were similar to Crystallized, and I think it's kind of funny how people kind of look down on these two maps compared to Crystallized. It's all the spawn offset. I'm telling you, it's the note jump speed and spawn offset. If they just tweak it with the decimal values, people would love these two maps so much more. And as you may know, the custom cycle hit map, it was made a long time ago. It is not aged very well. This is just so much better. A cycle hit was such a big song when it came out for Beat Saber, the custom map that is. And I think this honors the song much better than the custom map, which was really thrown together. It was a big collab, and it was exciting and fun when it first came out, but I don't know many people who would enjoy that today, you know, knowing how the game works. Alright, now next up we've got What the Cat. So out of all three of these maps, I have the least experience with What the Cat. This also suffers from the issues that Cycle Hit does with the spawn offset. So I'm going to show you the tweaked values. So Crystallized, 174, 175, 200. So since this is 200 BPM, I think we should crank the note jump speed even higher than the previous two maps. So 18, and I, in my opinion, would put 19 for that. For this, I would suggest 20, as I find 20 to kind of be the soft limit for what note jump speed should be at the Expert Plus level. So for this, I'm going to say probably 20 note jump speed and another 0.25 offset. Let's give it a shot. Actually, maybe we should show you what the mapping looks like before I do that. So again, super far out. It's going to be hard for me to keep the rhythm of this going as it gets more complex. I'm going to be swinging earlier than I should be. Yep. Now that the song's getting more funky, it's a lot harder to keep up. So, you know what, let's just go ahead and fix that right now. Alright, suggested settings, like I said. 20 note jump speed. 0.25 offset. Remember, we can't do the second decimal place, so we're going to do the first as 0.2 to approximate what it's going to feel like. Now the spawn distance is still kind of close with these values, but this is an intense song, so I think it's fitting. And I'm keeping up much better with the rhythm. Oh, lost tracking for a second. I kind of hate how this forces me on the right side because my window is like literally right next to me right now. This is really fun part right here. Is that a reset? Actually, let's go back there. Felt like that reset was kind of jarring, if it was a reset. Yeah, that was 100% a reset. You can take mappers can take a lot of leeway into when to reset stuff if they do it properly, but a song this fast, 200 BPM, what was previously 19 note jump speed up to 20, spawn distance being so close. The current value, 19 and 1, would work better for that reset than what I have set up. But even if it does not feel good like that in that state. So honestly, I would change just that one note. Or do something to reset the hands. Oh, we're playing with the stinky values. I could feel it. And those twirls or double dutches, whatever you want to call it, those felt fine too. So there is a much more distinct mapping style to this than in Crystallized and Cycle Hit. Not sure what you would call it. I would call it a stinky mapping. Not in a bad way, but it's, you know, stanky, like kind of a style. The note angles push the boundaries a lot more than the previous two maps, but it is still enjoyable, and it's very distinct. And then this is a mirror from earlier. Ooh, yes! These patterns are super lacking from the last two maps. This is kind of how I'm mapping Expert Plus at the moment. And again, the rhythm on this is great. Whew. That was a rush. Also, good map. All of these are three good maps. I just think that these two are misunderstood because of the spawn distance, the way it is. I think one last thing I want to note before we close this on out. We only played Expert Plus today. There are expert maps. And the expert maps on these really addressed my concerns that I had with the Monster Cat music pack. We'll get a little bit more in detail, but basically the gist is the Expert Plus on the Monster Cat songs is just too easy for a couple of them. and the expert difficulty suffers a lot because of that. They're a lot less distinct, a lot less fun than these 3 maps, and I think these 3 maps address the concerns from the expert maps on these by a ton. All 3 of the expert maps on these are enjoyable, and I think they're all paced appropriately. The note jump speed, they also were not scared to go above 12 for the experts on these 3. They're actually higher for this song. I know it's 16. I don't know about these 2 for the expert map, but you can especially see the issue with the note jump speed on the Monster Cat Overkill. It's at 12 for the expert, and it's kind of ridiculous. It needs to be higher, at least for that map. Really good songs. I think misunderstood because of the spawn distance. Very technical, just like the Imagine Dragon stuff. Honestly, they could get more technical. The most technical map up here is What the Cat right at the end, with the way it makes you contort your body. Honestly, there's still room for them to grow in Expert Plus mapping. It is really good in its current state, but if they wanted to surprise people even more, because these 3 maps, the difficulty of them surprised a lot of people coming from the official mapping, I think you can still surprise people. I think there's more bullshit you can do to really, mess with people's brains in Expert Plus going on. And it's basically just more of what the cat did right at the end with those moves. Just do more stuff like that. Do it more crazy. Do it at slower BPM songs. Because this isn't the last surprise that I could see the official mapping having for people. I hope they do a little bit of that in the future, but not every map has to be like what I just described. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I think that's all I have to offer today, so have a good one.